The sapphire sea stretched farther than the eye could follow, its endless waves shimmering like a blanket of liquid sky. Beneath those rolling blue horizons lived a world full of life, reefs sparkling with colors, ancient shipwrecks resting like forgotten monuments, and creatures moving with quiet grace through the sun-tinted waters. Among them was a young dolphin named Liora, a spirited swimmer whose heart pulsed with an insatiable curiosity that often made the elders shake their heads in amused disbelief. Liora belonged to the crescent pod, one of the largest dolphin families in the Sapphire Sea. While every dolphin in the pod was intelligent and playful, Liora possessed something different, an inner spark that pushed her to explore everything she came across. Whether it was a strange ripple on the surface or a glimmering object at the seabed, Liora wanted to know what it was, where it came from, why it behaved the way it did. Questions bubbled within her mind like streams of rising air, and they rarely left her alone. The elders admired her energy, but they also advised caution. "The sea is vast," Elder Silos often said, his voice calm and warm. "Wander too far without understanding your limits, and curiosity might lead you into the jaws of danger." But Liora believed deep in her bones that the sea was more a classroom than a threat. She felt that every wave whispered a lesson, every shadow beneath the water held a secret, and every unknown thing was simply a doorway waiting to be opened. To her, learning wasn't a task, it was joy. Every morning, while the pod traveled to warmer waters in search of food, Liora swam in wide circles around them, examining coral patterns, watching tiny fish in schools that moved like living paintings, and observing rays glide like flying carpets over the smooth sand. She never tired of asking questions. Why do schools of fish turn together at the same moment? How do sea turtles remember routes across oceans they haven't traveled in decades? Why do whales sing songs that echo for miles? Her curiosity became both her gift and her challenge. While the pod enjoyed her discoveries, they also worried when she drifted too far. One afternoon, while shafts of sunlight pierced the waves in golden strands, Liora noticed a strange shimmer near the seafloor. It flickered like fire despite being underwater. Without a second thought, she dove toward it. The deeper she swam, the dimmer the world became, but her excitement only grew. When she reached the shimmer, she discovered a cluster of crystal-like stones arranged naturally in the sand. They sparkled, reflecting the light in gentle pulsations. As she circled the formation, she saw an old eel watching her with tired but amused eyes. "Young ones always fall for the glow," the eel murmured. "What is this place?" Liora asked, her voice full of wonder. "It's a mineral pocket," he replied. "But most dolphins never swim this low." "Curious, aren't you?" "I want to learn everything," she said. The eel chuckled. "The sea loves minds like yours, if they respect its depth." Liora thanked him and returned to the surface, her mind buzzing with yet another discovery. But that dive sparked something deeper. She wanted to understand not only the mysteries of the ocean but also the stories behind them, the creatures who lived there, the ancient currents, the patterns of tides. Knowledge made her feel alive. As weeks passed, her curiosity pushed her further into unexplored regions. She traced forgotten trenches, played among rusted ship skeletons, and even followed migrating turtles halfway across the southern reefs. Each experience taught her something new, things she returned to share with her pod. At first, many listened politely. Then, some grew fascinated. Eventually, even the elders found themselves hearing her stories with interest. Liora's discoveries enriched the pod's daily life. She learned about a deep-water bloom of fish that appeared briefly during certain phases of the moon. This knowledge allowed her pod to reach feeding grounds earlier than usual, avoiding competition with larger predators. She found a hidden tunnel through coral caves that provided a safe escape route during storms. Her curiosity wasn't just harmless adventure, it was becoming an invaluable asset. But curiosity is rarely linear, and the deepest lessons often come wrapped in danger. One dawn, while the light was still soft, Liora noticed something odd: ripples on the surface that moved in a pattern she didn't recognize. They seemed to race in a straight line, disappearing into a patch of water far from their usual routes. She felt a familiar tug inside her chest. What was creating that pattern? Why was it moving so fast? Against her better judgment, she swam toward it. The farther she swam, the quieter the sea became, as if holding its breath. She neared a region known by the Old Ones as the Silent Crescent, a place where the waters deepened suddenly and currents shifted unpredictably. Liora had never been there, but the unknown drew her like a magnet. As she crossed into the area, she noticed shadowy shapes far below. At first, she thought they were whales. But when she swam closer, she realized they were far larger, massive steel ships anchored to the seafloor, relics from human wars long forgotten. Their hollow frames created strange currents, pulling water in unpredictable ways. She was mesmerized, circling one of the ships to inspect it. But as she approached a dark opening in the side, a powerful undercurrent surged, pulling her inside. She panicked and tried to swim back, but the water dragged her deeper into the metal labyrinth. The sound around her faded. Her heart raced as she kicked against the current, scraping against cold steel. She was losing strength when she heard faint clicks, the distant sound of dolphin communication. Her pod had realized she was missing. Summoning all her energy, she flicked her tail with desperate force and managed to break free of the current. She swam upward, lungs burning, until she burst past the ship's edge and into open water just as the pod approached. Fenrose, the pod leader, swam to her immediately, his face tight with worry. "Liora, what were you thinking?" She trembled. "There were ripples. I wanted to understand them." "That place is dangerous for any dolphin," Fenrose said gently but firmly. "Curiosity must be paired with caution." Liora lowered her head, ashamed. She had nearly lost herself to recklessness. But Elder Selos approached and rested his fin on her back. "And yet," he said softly, "we would not know the currents have changed near the Silent Crescent if she hadn't gone. Knowledge is not the problem. The lack of wisdom is." Fenrose nodded. "Curiosity is powerful. But learning never stops, not even for you. Today, you learned the sea's warning." Liora felt humbled, but the experience didn't extinguish her curiosity. It reshaped it. She realized that learning wasn't just about discovering things, it was also about understanding her limits, respecting the dangers, and balancing wonder with wisdom. A few days later, she asked Elder Selos, "How do I know when curiosity is good, and when it is reckless?" The wise dolphin smiled. "Curiosity becomes reckless when you stop listening. The ocean speaks through currents, through silence, through instinct. If you learn to listen, your curiosity will guide you instead of endanger you." That insight changed everything. Liora began exploring not only the sea but also herself, her impulses, fears, and instincts. She trained her senses to understand water pressure shifts, current directions, and subtle warnings carried through vibrations. She learned to read the world with both her heart and her mind. One afternoon, while practicing near the coral mirror, a reef so bright it reflected the sunlight like a mosaic, she encountered an injured sea turtle caught in discarded netting. Without hesitation, Liora used her snout and fins to untangle him. As she worked, she remembered lessons learned from observing seals and whales, how to approach gently, how to avoid making the animal panic, and how to guide him toward the surface for air. The turtle survived, and word of her bravery spread quickly. Creatures of all shapes began approaching her for help or guidance. She became known not just as a curious dolphin but as a knowledgeable one, someone who learned to turn curiosity into kindness. Seasons passed, and Liora matured into one of the most respected members of the Crescent Pod. Yet she never lost that childlike wonder. She still explored new regions, still asked questions, still believed that the sea offered infinite lessons. And every time she returned, she shared her discoveries with young dolphins eager to understand the world. One night, beneath a sky lit by thousands of stars, Liora led the pod to the surface. The water reflected the moonlight so perfectly that it looked like a second sky beneath them. Learning never ends, she told the younger dolphins. Every wave, every creature, every change in the water has something to teach. If you stay curious, you will keep growing, no matter how old you become. And as the pod swam into the moonlit horizon, Liora felt a profound truth rising inside her. Curiosity wasn't just a desire to learn. It was a way of living, a promise to stay open, to remain fascinated, to keep discovering not only the world but herself. Moral of the story: curiosity keeps your mind alive. Learning isn't a phase, it's a lifelong journey that helps you grow, adapt, and understand yourself and the world around you.